Alright, it is time for another book talk video, this time about the very critically acclaimed, very hyped The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book has been talked about so much, I think for the last year or so. Literally every book person on the internet has been raving about this. And so I was like, well, I guess I have to read it. Because when I heard the premise for the first time, I wasn't that intrigued by it. I was kind of like, okay, that's a book. But then, like, people kept talking about it, and they kept talking about it, and they kept talking about it. So I was like, okay, I guess it's really like an impactful book. Like, people said it changed their lives, the way they thought about stuff. And I was just like, okay, if it really packs that big of a punch, I want to read it. For this book talk video, I didn't really film during the reading process because I was out most of the time when I read this book. You can probably tell because this book has been in my bag a lot and it is just kind of destroyed, but it's fine. I'm gonna quickly tell you what I think about it shortly without any spoilers, and then after that I'm gonna go into some more spoilery thoughts on the book. So The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is a book about a reporter called Monique. Out of the blue, she gets this opportunity to interview Evelyn Hugo, who is this really super famous old Hollywood starlet. She's like a really big deal, and she is quite private, but suddenly this Monique girl gets the opportunity to interview her, and Evelyn wants to tell her life story. As you can tell by the title, she has had 7 husbands, and the book kind of tells her whole story, you know, from husband to husband. And there's also this question that keeps cropping up of like why Evelyn wanted Monique to write this story. That's pretty much the premise. So, what did I think about this book? I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It didn't blow my mind the way a lot of people made me feel like it was going to, but it was good. It was a good book. I liked it. I thought what the book did really well was draw me into the story. Like, pretty much I was in it from the moment I started reading. I guess because you really quickly get to this premise of, oh my god, she's going to interview this big bombshell of a Hollywood starlet. The book builds this hype of this Evelyn Hugo character so well, and I remember reading like the first chapters being like, oh my god, we finally get to meet her, and it's like the way she was described, it just pulled you in. And I really liked that about it. So like from the beginning, I was really drawn into the story. I think what I liked the most about this book was the characters and how complex they were. Evelyn Hugo is by far one of the most interesting characters I've ever read about. She is so unlikable at some points, but the book makes it so clear that nothing is ever black and white. Like, you can't say she's a good person, he's a bad person. It's more like people are people, and I freaking love that in books. And that's like my main reason for loving this book, is how it portrays people as people. Because obviously this takes place for the most part in Hollywood during like, what is it, the 60s, 70s, 80s. And so with all these Hollywood people, there's a lot of like scheming and planning and cheating to get to the top, or to push someone else out of the way, or, you know, like, just a lot of sneaky stuff going on here. A lot of Slytherin action in this book, by the way. You can tell from the cover. But like, it's done in a way it's human. And I love how everyone in this book is so human. Evelyn just felt like such a real person. Like, this could have been like a book about a real person for all I knew. Like, she is so real to me. I love the things that Evelyn taught our main character, Monique. Monique is still very young and inexperienced, and she lacks confidence in a lot of ways, and Evelyn is this big, important Hollywood person. And their interactions together I really enjoyed reading about, because Evelyn manages to teach Monique a lot of things that she needed to hear to become a stronger person. The romance in this is absolutely stunning. I am very picky when it comes to romance, but for some reason it worked. Because these two characters, like the way their relationship was formed and the way they evolved, I don't know why, but I really saw it. I could really see these two people together. So freaking love the romance in this. The representation in this book is also really beautiful. There's a lot of LGBT in this, and also Evelyn is Cuban American. Yeah, she's mixed race. And the book deals with her being mixed race in Hollywood and how Hollywood kind of tried to whitewash her. I guess the only negative thing I can say is I remember feeling a little bit tired after a while of all of the Hollywood shenanigans, because it was a lot of the same. You know, people trying to keep their power and doing sneaky things to get power, people having to lie to get something, people having to cheat their way into things. There was a lot of like sneaky stuff going on, and like, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a Hufflepuff, but like yeah, after a while I was just kind of like, can't we all just like, you know, be nice and tell the truth and stuff? But I get it. That was just not my cup of tea. But like, that's just like a tiny little thing, I guess. Anyways, in general, I thought this book was great. I love the portrayal of the characters. I love where the story went, because I always thought I knew what was going to happen and then something else happened, which I freaking loved. The writing was alright. It was easy to get into, easy to read. I think the only reason I can't give it 5 stars, and this is so sad, is because the hype around this book is so extreme. So like, my expectations were so high, which is so annoying. I wouldn't call this one of my favorite books of all time, for example. I don't have any big negative thing to say about it, because I did really like it. I liked pretty much everything about it, but you know, it's not going on my favorites of all time shelf. So I would give this like a 4 out of 5 stars. 4.5 out of 5 stars maybe. I really did like it, and I would recommend it. It's a pretty fast read. It's really fun to read, while at the same time being hard-hitting and like gut-wrenching at some points, which like, I love when a book can do both. But yeah, those are my main thoughts. Now I'm gonna go into the spoilery section, so if you haven't read this book yet, which I doubt, I feel like everyone has read this book at this point, but if you haven't read the book, please click away now, because I'm gonna talk about some spoilers. So, this book, I didn't know whether or not to mention that this is an LGBT book, because such a big part of this book is Evelyn's lesbian relationship with Celia St. James, and I loved that about this book. Their relationship was so beautiful to me. Yeah, I don't know, I love them together, and and then like when they couldn't be together, she had to marry Harry. Harry, by the way, my favorite character. He just seemed like the type of guy I would love to be friends with. Like, I just love him. I love Harry. He's great. Is it weird that I kept imagining him as Chris Columbus, the director, you know, the guy who did Home Alone and the first Harry Potter movies? That's how I imagined him to look like. So there's that. I loved Harry Cameron. He was my favorite. But I loved all the characters. I loved Celia. I loved Evelyn. Freaking loved Evelyn. She was such a strong character. In the beginning, I was worried about not liking Evelyn, because she starts off, you know, sleeping with someone to get out of the city, which, fine, you do you. But then she kind of tricks this guy into marrying him and like all of that stuff. And I thought that was fine, but I was worried that Evelyn was going to be this cutthroat throughout the entire book. I'm happy that we got to see so many softer sides of Evelyn as well. You know, Evelyn was a really complex character. She wasn't just this cutthroat woman who just wanted fame. You know, I like that she had more to her than that. I was genuinely worried about that at the beginning. I love how motivating Evelyn was to Monique. I wish there would have been a little more with that, because I feel like that storyline, you know, Evelyn motivating Monique to be more independent and to take what she wants, I feel like that kind of ended really quickly in the story, whereas I feel like that could have been a beautiful, you know, overarching arc of the entire book. I also wasn't that into Monique. Like, she was very kind of bleh to me. But that's maybe because you put her against someone like Evelyn Hugo, who is just shimmering, shining, splendid. In the beginning, I really loved all of the like intrigue into like the Hollywood scene. But as I said before, it got old a little bit. The amount of times Evelyn married someone just to like get out of something or to protect someone or to keep her fame. It made me think, do people still do that in Hollywood? Like, is that a thing? Because like that's messed up. And also she marries people real quick. Like when she married Giraud, the French guy, I was like, girl, what you doing? Like she should know by now that like just marrying people for the sake of it is not, it's not what you do. But I guess she was used to it by then. So she was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna marry this guy too. I was like, have you learned nothing? Oh yeah, I remember at the start, before we meet Evelyn Hugo, I remember just being obsessed with how Evelyn Hugo was being hyped up in the book. When Monique is doing all of her research, the reader just gets swept up in that so much. I was like, I need to see this Evelyn Hugo. Like, I want to see her movies. She sounds incredible. I think the beginning of the book is so good at hyping her up. It makes the premise sound all that much more cool. Yeah, I love that whole beginning part. I just got so excited for Monique. Then as for like the plot twists and stuff, I didn't really see any of them coming. Aside from the breast cancer thing, like I was pretty sure that Evelyn had some kind of a disease and she was gonna die, but I don't think that was a big spoiler. I think most people would have found that out. The other stuff, I was trying to guess, right, why Evelyn chose Monique to write her thingy. The whole time I was like, she's Evelyn's secret daughter with Don Adler. She's Evelyn's secret daughter with Harry. She's Evelyn's secret daughter with, you know, the Giraud guy. Like, I was just like, she's Evelyn's secret daughter or even granddaughter. Who knows? Because when Connor, Evelyn's daughter, started to like have sex a lot, I was like, she's Evelyn's daughter's daughter. I was thinking about all of those things. And then none of that was true. Oh my God, when Harry died, I cried. That was so sad because Harry's still my fave. Evelyn and Celia's scenes where they have to break up, when Celia can't forgive her, it broke my heart. Just their relationship was really, really well written. Everything about their relationship I thought was really well written. I love how Evelyn realizes the mistake she's made in her relationship with Celia. I think one of my favorite parts here, when Evelyn talks about her being 50-50% cruel, it's when Monique says Celia wasn't perfect, she could be cruel too. And Evelyn says, she always made sure the bad was outweighed by so much good. I didn't do that for her. I made it 50-50, which is about the cruelest thing you can do to someone you love. Give them just enough good to make them stick through a hell of a lot of bad. I don't know why, but that really stuck with me. I don't know, I just love their relationship and the way it was written. I really wish this book hadn't been hyped up so much because it's like, it's a really good book, but I don't know. I don't know what I expected. You know, the reading of this book has taught me to not care about hype and to always go into a book with no expectations. Because I think if I hadn't had any expectations, maybe I would have given this 5 stars. I don't know. Right? I couldn't tell you. But yeah, I do recommend it. So yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about Evelyn Hugo. If you haven't read it yet, pick it up. It's worth a read. Though I think pretty much everyone has read it at this point. But yeah, I think that's gonna be all from me today. I hope you have a wonderful day and I will talk to you in my next video. Goodbye!